So we are going to talk about high heels. So a lot of us, especially if we work in flight, are on our high heels for several hours a day. And that changes the way our body moves, changes our alignment, but we can quickly start to undo that once we're in our hotel room with just a few simple stretches. So I'm going to give you a couple tricks that don't take long that undo what the high heels do to us. So we've probably already seen the first stretch at some point because when we're up on our high heels, our body actually gets used to that. If you wear high heels a lot, sometimes you'll be uncomfortable actually putting your heels down and wearing a flat or a flip-flop or a tennis shoe just because you've crunched all of these muscles up. So, we talk about, like, you look at Barbie's foot, and even if she doesn't have her high heels on, her foot's like that. It's because she wears high heels all the time. Not really, but that is kind of what the human body does. If we're used to being here, these muscles shorten and it becomes uncomfortable to be here. So we're going to try to undo what the high heels do when we're wearing them for long periods of time in just a few stretches. So you might need to do these repeatedly. You definitely want to do at least a couple of them whenever you get to your room, at your hotel, or if you get home from working. These are great things to do to kind of undo what high heels do to your body. So we're going to start from the ground up, work about to the waist on high heels with some stretches, and then I'm going to throw in a couple other tips that can help. So first of all, let's look at just our kind of runner's stretch that we do. And if you have a wall, great. If not, the back of the chair, of a chair, or even a desk or countertop is fine for a balance. But we're just going to get into the calf here. So I talked about those muscles all being crunched up. What we're getting into here is the one that we always think of with your calf muscle, that short little muscle that you can kind of see in your leg. That's called the gastroc. So the gastroc gets stretched right here. So we're going to hold this for just a moment. And you can always pause the video and hold this longer. Once you watch this a couple times, you'll be able to do this on your own. So you can just use this video as a tutorial. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and then we'll switch legs, but I want to talk about what we're going to do with just a little bit of a change to this back leg. All we're going to do, and you might need to step in a little bit if you're really tight, is you're going to bend that back knee. So I was straight. Now I'm bending. If you can keep the foot in the same place and bend, great. If not, you might need to step in. What we're doing here, we're getting the soleus. So we've got our gastroc here. The soleus actually extends down from around the knee. And actually the Achilles tendon is attached right here. So you've probably heard of that. That is all encompassed here. So that soleus is back behind the gastroc. It's one that can actually cause you to feel some plantar fasciitis as well if it gets really, really tense. So we're going to go to that gastroc stretch. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bend the knee and we're going to hold this. So when you're holding without the video, and I'm not super timing here, but when you're holding without the video, think like 5 deep inhales and exhales if possible, or about 30 seconds, just kind of whatever works for you. If you feel intense pain, like that sharp shooting pain, then you want to stop, back off a little bit. So then you're just going to take the next leg, the other leg. So you're going to bring that back. We're getting the gastroc now, that shorter muscle right in the back of the leg, somewhere right here. We're just holding this for a moment. And then we're going to bend that knee and get into the soleus. So depending on how tight your leg is, try to keep that heel on the ground if possible. If not, bring that leg in and bend it. So my right leg seems to be a little tight right now. So I had to kind of step in to get a good stretch there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the hamstrings and the glutes. So when you're up on your high heels, you'll notice that your hips pitch forward, and that's so you can keep your balance. So what we're doing here is, if you think about that pitch forward with the hips, we're tensing the glutes, we're tensing the hamstrings. So we're walking around like that all day. You might think, oh yeah, great for toning. Not great because it's acting on your back and possibly causing low back pain. So a lot of times you see low back pain actually caused by tight hamstrings. It's all interconnected. So if you're familiar with downward facing dog, you can do that on the floor. We're going to do this whole stretching series not on the floor. So we're going to take our hands to the wall, to a chair, to a desk, anything we have, and we're going to mimic that downward facing dog by just going into an L position here. So we'll feel this possibly stretching in the low back. We might feel it stretching the hamstrings. We might feel it in the calves. The body's going to feel this where it's tight. Again, about 5 breaths, 30 seconds, somewhere around there. Trying to get that back flat. If we round, we're not getting as much of a stretch as we get with a nice flat back. So even if you have to walk yourself up a bit and not be in that kind of perfect L, that's okay. And then as you get more and more flexible, you can drop that down just a little bit. So after we've done that one, we're going to walk up the wall. We're just going to kind of ground ourselves on the floor here. So we've got a nice stance, and we're just going to do some rocks back and forth. So we're just kind of moving the ankles a little bit here. So they can be big rocks, they can be small rocks, just depending on what works. The rock back, where we're lifting our toes, is really undoing those high heels. You might have to take that actually easy for a while if you wear high heels a lot and you're not used to that kind of movement. So do that just a few times. Again, 30 seconds probably is all you would need, maybe less, just depending on how you're feeling. And then if you've got a place just to sit down, you're just going to work into the ankles a little bit by doing some circles, working those ankles out, circles both ways, and then just some point flex. Again, we're just working into that high heel position and out, but now we don't have the body weight and the force of that on the floor. So we might feel this is more comfortable than that standing and rocking. We can do both, or we can interchange them. We can use this instead if we want to. And then we're just going to switch feet here. So we're just going to take some ankle circles. And again, do this as long as you need to. And then we're going to bring that point flex in. So both of those things, or really all of the things that I've done so far, you don't really need much other than some places to put your hands, a wall, chair, anything like that. The next two things, the little tips I'm going to show you, and these will be our last two things, I want to keep this video short, are things you can bring with you pretty easily on the road. So I have another video that I talk about the lacrosse ball. So this can be a tennis ball as well. The lacrosse ball is actually harder. You can use it to kind of roll out muscles in your back, in your hips, but you can also use it to roll out that arch. So you can just put that on the floor and just roll right through. Again, tennis ball works just as well. They also make things especially for this. They're longer and it's like a little rolling pin for your foot. Those are fine too. So anything that you want to carry, I just carry this because I can use it on my back as well. So it's kind of multi-purpose. It doesn't take much room up in my luggage. So again, 30 seconds-ish, or until you kind of feel like you've rubbed out any tension in your foot with the ball. So just roll that out. And then the other thing that you may not have are called yoga toes. So I'm gonna actually bring these up to the camera. But what this does is this would actually be the one, if it's this way, I'm gonna put it on my left foot. The way you're looking at me, it probably looks like it's to the right of the screen, but the larger of the bars here goes between your bigger toes and then works all the way down. But what this it does, when you put it on your foot, is if you're wearing pointy shoes, you've got your foot here, and it's just tensing everything up, right? So your toes are crammed into that pointy shoe, and all of the metacarpals in your hand, but they're called metatarsals in your feet, the little bones here are getting scrunched up. So sometimes you'll kind of feel a little bit of discomfort from that. So what we're trying to do is stretch those metatarsals in the foot out by putting yoga toes on, and you're just gonna almost like you're getting a pedicure, but it's just a little more intense because these are a little bigger and they are not quite as forgiving as the pedicure things, but it just goes right on your foot and it stretches everything out. So couple things about these. First of all, I'm going to, in the description, have a link to Amazon. You can buy them. They're just under $40, but you really only need to buy them once. It's a one-time investment that really might feel great after a long day in high heels. So not a bad thing if you're having that pain from the pointy toes. The other thing, you want to start slow with these, no more than 15 minutes, because your body needs to adjust to them. You can go to about an hour once you've adjusted, but no longer than about 15 minutes to start. You might not even make it to 15 minutes the first time, and that's completely fine. So just do as much time as you have, up to an hour, but again, really start with about 15 minutes max and work into it. The other thing, when the bones of the foot are stretched out so much, you really don't want to walk on them. So this is an excuse to kick your feet up for about 15 minutes after you get off of work and just kind of relax and just let them do the work. You don't have to do anything else, but you do want to avoid walking on them. So tips and tricks for high heels.